All right, let me get my screen fixed and we'll be ready to go. All right, y'all, so 2.2. Oh, let me move that up just a little. Is going to deal with functions and graphs. So I'll give us a few definitions first, and then we'll start looking at these examples, okay? So first definition we need to know for this section would be correspondence. All right, so y'all, correspondence, that just shows a relationship between a domain, which will be my x's, and my range, which will be my y values. So it shows a relationship between a domain, and like I said, that'll be your x values, and a range. And the range would be my y values, okay? All right, so we're going to get into a special correspondence that we call a function. So a function is a special correspondence in which each value in the domain corresponds to one and only one value for the range. So here we go. A relationship in which each domain value has one and only one range value. Okay, so that means if my x value is 5, it can only have one special y value that corresponds to it, okay? X values cannot have a change or a choice between y values. It's got to be only one y value for those x's, okay? So let me draw a correspondence for us, and we're going to determine if it is a function or not. So determine if a function. All right, so I'm going to have my domain listed in one column and my range in another column. So for my first problem, my domain, let's try 5, 7, and 10. And then for my range, I'll do a -2, 8, and a 4. So this domain will have an arrow from the 5 to the 8. It had an arrow from the 7 to the -2, and then from the 10 to the 4. So they'll give you this part of it, okay? So what this is telling me, that is, if my domain value is 5, it corresponds to a range value of 8. So it only has one range value. If my x or my domain was 7, then it corresponds to a range value of -2. And then if my x value was 10, it only corresponded to the range value of 4. So since each of these x's only points to one range value, this would be yes, a function. Okay, so focus on the x values and see what they're doing, okay? So same thing, we got a domain and a range. So let's see, this time I got 18, 21, and 14. My range values are going to be 21 and 7. So the 18 points to the 21. 21 points to the 7. And then 14 points to the 21. So, y'all, is this one a function? So y'all can unmute or y'all can chat.
No.
Okay, so you just said no on that, right?
Right.
So let's start with these x values over here. How many y values does that 18 point to?
2.
1.
Oh, 1. Sorry.
So it's just pointing to 1, which is the 21. So then look at the 21. How many is it pointing to?
1.
So see, the 21 only had one choice. And then how about your 14?
1 as well.
1 as well. So all these x's over here are only pointing to one range value. So y'all, this is definitely a function, okay? You can't focus on the range values. Think about paychecks. If you're paid by the hour, your pay depends on how many hours you work, right? So if you work 18 hours, you got so much, 21, you got so much, and so on. But have y'all seen paychecks where the hours can be different, but the pay might be the same for the hours?
Would that not be a salary pay?
That'd be a salary. So see, the range can have a lot of x's pointing to it, but these x's can only have one choice for their values, okay? So yeah, just like the salary, I can have x's from 0 hours all the way to 40, but my pay might be 500 for every one of them x's, okay? So y'all getting the hang of this now. So let's see what y'all do to my number 3 here. So domain. And for this one, I'm going to let my domain be different cities. And my range is going to be the different teams. So y'all, my domain has Atlanta. And it has New York. I'm going to pull the camera down just a little bit to get this. My range will be the bunch of teams over here. So I'm going to have the Hawks, Braves, Falcons. And then I got 3 more. I got the Knicks, Mets, and the Giants. Right, so Atlanta punched over to those 3. New York punches over to these 3. All right, so y'all think about this, and I got to email one of my students and tell them how to get into class.
I'm just glad you didn't put down the Yankees. So
I heard that. Right, sorry. So if you ever try to log on to the Blackboard link and it gives you errors, I've never seen the errors for those. But go to the email and use that link. All right, so y'all, was that a function or not?
No,
No, it's not.
No, definitely, because Atlanta had 3 choices, which violated our rule up there. So good job. So not too bad, right? So now let's get into what we call function notation. You'll probably heard of f of x. Let me move this
Yeah.
camera back. Move my camera back up. So yeah, function notation. And y'all, really, if I had to describe function notation, to me, it's just another way of representing a y. Instead of saying y equals something, we use function notation because y'all might have heard of f of x. A lot of times when they make formulas, instead of using an f, they might use something that represents the formula. So F they might use for Fahrenheit, force, and then the X tells you what the variable is. So that tells me the variable. So if y'all are doing any science classes like physics and chemistry, a lot of times your variable will be a T for time. All right, so function notation is just a symbolism used to show a function. So it shows a function if a number is listed in place of the x. So if a number is listed in place of the x, then we substitute that number for the x's in the function. So let me give you an example of a function. So I'm going to have a function f of x, and let's say my function equals x squared plus 5. Now, the right side of this is the actual function. That's the only side that we work on. This left side is just symbolism, letting me know that it's a function, okay? So this is the function. So usually I'm going to give you a function like this, f of x equals x squared plus 5. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say, find f of a negative 5. Now let me see. All right, so she's still having trouble getting on. All right, so this is just shorthand for me to say, hey, put a negative 5 in for them x's and find me the value. Okay, so when we want to find f of negative 5, f of negative 5 is going to equal this function with a negative 5 put in for those x's. Now remember, when you put in a negative number for your x's, keep it in parentheses, okay? So take that negative 5 You're going to square that. And then you're going to add 5 to that answer. And y'all, the reason I put parentheses, if you don't put your -5 in parentheses on your calculator before you square it, it won't do it as a -5 times -5. It'll just bring down the negative and then put 25. So parentheses on that calculator on negative numbers, okay? All right, so order of operations, -5 squared. And remember, no matter what you put in for an x, if you square it, it's got to be positive, okay? Because that goes back to that like signs. So that's going to give me positive 25 plus 5, which gives me what? 25 and 5 is 30. So y'all, let's play with this one. Y'all find what is f of 2. So let's let y'all try that and see what y'all come up with. Nice, y'all being quiet.
Is f of 2 9?
Know what now?
9?
Oh, that sounds good. So let's see if he's right. So f of 2, you put a 2 in for my x's. Oh, I think she finally got on, y'all. All right, good job. All right, welcome in, Jasmine. I was having, I didn't know what was going on. All right, so you put the 2 in for the x, squared that, plus 5. So yeah, because order of operations, 2 squared is 4. And 4 plus 5 is definitely a 9. So good job. So another curveball then. What if I said find me f of x plus 2? So when you see something like that, a variable and a number, they want me to replace my x's with all of that. Okay. So for my problem, I'm squaring this. So I would take my x plus 2, square it, and add 5. All right, so I made mine just a little tougher than you see in the homework, but I'm wanting to practice y'all at this kind of stuff. When you see an x plus 2 squared on the side over here, y'all remember y'all's foiling, right?
Yeah.
So when you got 2 things inside parentheses and an exponent behind them, you got to come down here and write that twice. So that gives me an x plus 2 times the x plus 2. And y'all, this is where we're going to start that foiling. So remember, foiling, you start with this x and multiply by the x in the second parentheses. X times x is the x squared. Then you take that same x in the first parentheses and multiply by the 2 in the second parentheses. So what's that? X times 2 is just a 2x. Then you do that to the 2 right here. You multiply it by both of these. So you do 2 times x, which is another 2x. And y'all finally, you take that 2 times that 2 and get a 4. So both of these get multiplied by both of those. And this will go even further, right? I see some like terms in there, right? Them 2 x's. So these are like terms. So we're going to bring down the x squared. 2 x's plus 2 x's give you 4 x's. Y'all, so the biggest mistake people do on foiling when they add that 2x and that 2x, they try to square it. Remember, you cannot change what a variable looks like when you're adding or subtracting, okay? And then you're going to bring down the 4. So x squareds are not like terms with 4x's or 4's. So none of them are like terms. So I'm going to come up here and replace x plus 2 squared with what we just got. X squared plus 4x plus 4. And then I still had what? A plus 5 at the end. So this we brought up to there. Y'all, and this homework's not going to kill y'all on a lot of factoring. I just like to do this to get y'all a little practice. I mean, foiling. Just get a little practice before it starts coming up. So y'all, can that go further? X squared plus 4x plus 4 plus 5.
Yeah, you got the 4 and the 5.
Yeah,
Leaves
that's
the
like
9.
terms right there. Good job. So let's see, we end up with an x squared plus 4x plus my 9, okay? So it's not too bad. Just remember, I give you a function, you put that number into that function, solve it and be done. All right, y'all, so y'all got this and we'll move on to another page. So let's see. All right, so doing all right on time. So let me give you one like the book will give you. So we're going to be given the function. And our function is going to be, let's see, what do we got? H of x is going to equal x plus 13. They want us to find h of 0, h of -1, h of -3, h of 7, and then finally h of c plus 15. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things they want me to find using this function. Oh, let me see. I got it. All right, there we go. All right, y'all. So I'm gonna start with h of 0. So you'll put in 5 separate answers in Math Lab for this, right? It'll ask you h of 0 first. You'll put that answer in. Then it'll ask you h of -1. Put that answer in, and you sort of check it on each of these answers. Okay. So h of 0. I'm going to take this function, x plus 13, put a 0 in for that x. So one step, what's that? 0 plus 13 give us
13.
13. There you go. H of -1 is going to be -1 plus 13. Now, y'all, let me tell you, on the calculator, you got to use the negative that's in the parentheses. If you use the subtraction one, it'll give you an error on that, okay? All right, so -1 and 13, unlike signs. So I subtract 13 minus 1, which is 12. Larger sign's positive, so the answer stays positive. So that's going to give me a positive 12. Y'all get h of -3. So that'll be what? -3 plus 13.
10.
Oh, yeah, there you go. 10. Perfect. H of 7. So 7 plus 13. So what's that? 20? That's not too bad.
20.
All right, so here's y'all's h of c plus 15. So y'all remember, this c plus 15 is going in for that x. So you're going to have c plus 15, and at the end is your plus 13. So you still got to bring the 13 down. So can I go any further on this one?
Yes.
There you go. So once again, we had like terms down there. So what's that? C plus
28.
28. There you go. All right, so y'all good on that? I'm gonna do more examples doing these. Let's see what we got. So this one's given f of x equals x, and we're doing the absolute value of x, and then it's got minus 4. So we're going to find f of negative 2, f of 3, and then f of a plus 4. All right, y'all, so let's try f of negative 2. So we still got our absolute value, put a negative 2 in for the x, and then on the outside you got that negative 4.
Be -2.
All right, let me see. Got another. All right. Oh man, that sounds good. Because what's the absolute value of a negative 2?
+2.
There you go. And then bring down that negative 4. 2 minus 4 is definitely negative 2. Good job. So just remember, anything that comes out of them two pipes for that absolute value got to be positive, like y'all did. Okay. All right, f of 3, put me a 3 into them absolute values. And then subtract that 4. So absolute value of 3 is definitely 3. Bring down that negative 4. And then what's that? Negative 1.
Yes.
Now, y'all, I sort of don't like this last one because when you put in an a plus 4, you're going to have the absolute value of a plus 4 minus 4. This problem cannot go any further, but they're trying to trick you into taking that plus 4 and subtracting 4 and just putting the a. But this problem does not go any further. This one does not simplify. So that would be your final answer on that. And I don't know why they put this one in there, but and that's because we don't know the sign of the a in the beginning. Let's say a was a -1. -1 plus 4 would be what, 3? And then absolute value of 3 would be 3 minus 4, which would give you -1, which is not equal to the a, okay? So you're going to have this same problem. I think it's going to be y'all's number 7. You're going to have to write this in Math Lab the way it looks, what they give you, okay? I just wanted to give y'all a heads up on that one.
I appreciate that.
All right, let me get one in here right then. All right, this one we're given. Now, that's probably the only problem y'all will do in my class this whole semester that does not simplify further, okay? So they let that slip in through the cracks. So you're going to have f of x equals x cubed. We're going to find f of 0 f of -1, f of 4, f of 8, f of -2, and then finally f of a -3a. I'm probably going to need to pull down a little bit for that. So now I got an exponent of 3 on your calculator to get them exponents. So what's my first one? 0. Let me show you how to do exponents on this calculator real quick. And then we'll get back to knocking these out. So if I wanted to do 0 to the 3rd, I would punch my 0. Over here under the clear button, you see what looks like the upside down V. They call that a caret. If you click on it, it kicks the cursor up for the exponent. And then I'll just put my 3 and hit enter. Okay. So now we know that equals 0 apparently. All right, so by hand, I got f of 0. That's going to equal 0 to the 3rd power. So remember, exponents are just shorthand for multiplying. And it tells me how many times to multiply to 0 times itself. So 0 times 0 times 0 would be a big O.
0.
0. Then what we got? F of -1.
So -1 to the 3rd power.
Mm-hmm. So what's that giving you?
That'd be -1.
All right, moving on, we got f of 4. And on that last problem, just remember, if you got a negative number and you raise it to a odd exponent, it stays negative, okay? All right, so now to get a little bit bigger, y'all, 4 to the 3rd power.
64.
All righty, let's try 8 to the 3rd power. That's going to get pretty big. These exponents make these numbers get big pretty quick.
Is it going to be a -27? I mean, -27a.
Oh, do my 8 to the 3rd first.
Oh, 8. I'm sorry.
Uh-huh. Well, 8 times 8 is what, 64? So what is 64 times another 8?
512.
512. And I'll tell you what, you were so close on this one. That was what, a -3a to the 3rd power. Now you was halfway right on that. What number did you tell me?
-27.
Yeah, that part's right.
I was looking at the wrong problem.
So what's the rest of this?
-27a.
Oh,
the
can you do
third.
it? What did you just say?
A to the 3rd.
A to the 3rd, because remember, you got an A times an A times an A.
Oh.
So you got to multiply that A also, okay? So since you had to multiply A times itself 3 times, that gives you an A to the 3rd. And I'll tell y'all officially, it's like the A, since it don't have an exponent shown, it's like the exponent is 1. And you just multiply 1 times 3, and that's how you can get them exponents, okay? All right, so turning over. Y'all good on that one?
Yes, sir. Well, I am. Can't speak for everybody.
Well, no one told you no, right? All right, so let's look at another way I can do with these functions. So given f of c equals 9/5 c plus 32. So any guesses on that formula? What would I use that formula for?
I think that's why I was stuck.
For like, what is it, Fahrenheit to Celsius or Celsius to
Damn, that's
Fahrenheit?
good. So this formula, since F is on the outside, this formula will find me the Fahrenheit temperature if I know the Celsius temperature. And then you can go the other way. That would be what? C of F. Okay. So good job. So given this formula, what Fahrenheit temperature corresponds to a negative 15 degrees Celsius.
Isn't it 273? Like to calculate temperature, isn't Fahrenheit 273, 275 or something like that?
For what?
For Fahrenheit.
Okay, so for me, the major Fahrenheit temperatures, I know freezes at what, 32 degrees?
Mm-hmm.
Boils, water boils at 212. And then room temperature is usually around what, 76, 70 something?
Yes.
Now in Celsius, freezing temperature of water in Celsius is 0 Celsius. And then water boils in Celsius at 100. So now what you're talking about is that absolute freezing type stuff. When you're looking at like negative 273 degrees Celsius is what we call absolute zero.
Okay.
Why do
so-
y'all know all of this?
I
Oh,
swear.
they made me take that physics stuff too. So chemistry, you probably see this one though. If y'all got to do like physical science or chemistry or something, you'll probably play with this. So basically, they're wanting me to put that negative 15 in for that C and see what temperature we come up with. So we're going to be finding an F of a negative 15. So that's going to give me 9/5 times negative 15 plus 32. Now, y'all, if you don't like multiplying fractions, guess what? Let me find my calculator. So I had 9/5. Well, I can put that in the calculator as a fraction, and I can put my fraction in parentheses. So 9 divided by 5, those parentheses. And then what was that temperature? Negative 15. So come down here and get your negative. And 15. So the calculator knows I'm multiplying that because I got my parentheses next to my number. Now remember, when you use a negative, do not use that subtraction key when you're multiplying, okay? You can
Yes.
only use, if you put the subtraction, it's going to subtract that 15 instead of multiply. So now my calculator will tell me that answer, but then I can also finish it out and put the plus 32 in there, can't I?
Yes.
So this calculator, you can put that whole problem in there, hit enter, and you get a Fahrenheit temperature of 5 degrees, okay? So I'll show you by hand what'll do that. So by hand, y'all, I would have treated that negative 15 like it was a fraction with a 1 on the bottom. I reduce before I multiply. So any number on top can reduce with any number on the bottom. So the 15 and the 5 will reduce. So if you take the negative 15 divided by 5, that makes that a negative 3. Now multiply straight across. 9 times negative 3 is a negative 27 plus my 32. And guess what? Negative 27 and 32 give me 5, just like that calculator, okay? Now, here's another thing, y'all. If you're not used to doing this canceling like I did, multiply straight across. 9 times negative 15, and then divide that by the 5, and you'll still get negative 27, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, y'all, then we're going to give you a few graphs to play with again. So let me find one here. So this one, we're going to graph f of x equals negative 3 plus absolute value of x. Now, here's what's nice in this section. they're going to give you all the X values. So instead of putting Y's here now, they want y'all to get used to f of X being the same thing as a Y. So they're making the tables using the f of X notation. Now the X's they gave me were -2, -1, 0, 1, and +2. Now we're going to have to get our f of X values, which is our Y values. And then I'll show you what tool to use on that MATLAB. So basically, we got 5 X's that we're going to put in here and get some f of X values. So the first one will be f of -2. F of -2 will be -3 plus the absolute value of -2. All right, y'all, so that's going to be -3 plus, remember, start with the absolute value first. Absolute value of -2 is a +2. And now adding -3 and 2, we get our -1. So we come over here and put our -1. Now remember, I'm going to write given so that y'all remember these are all given. Okay. All right, what's next? F of -1. That'll be -3 plus absolute value -1. All right, and so that is y'all's.
+4.
All right, so let's see, we did what? -3 comes down. Absolute value of -1 was 1. Oh, she's going to have to change that, ain't she? Because now remember, we got a -3 adding to that 1.
We got -2.
Damn, there you go. There you go. Good job. So -2 here. Now remember, since this is absolute value graphing, this thing should look like a V eventually so that we can use that absolute value tool in MATLAB. So since it looks like a V, we should see some symmetry with these numbers in a little bit, okay? So let's find what's next, f of 0. So -3 plus absolute value of 0.
-3.
Yeah, because absolute value 0 is a big 0. So y'all, I don't see no symmetry yet with my f of X. So let's see what happens next. We got f of 1.
-2.
Because that's what, -3 plus 1, which is definitely -2. So now I'm seeing some symmetry. I got a -3 in the middle. On both sides of that, it's a -2. So I'm willing to bet I know what that bottom number will be.
-1.
-1, I bet. So officially, let's see, that was what, f of 2. So -3 plus absolute value of 2. So that'll be -3 plus 2. And there you go. -1, okay. So I won't graph this because I'm going to do more examples on this. So remember, MATLAB, since there's absolute value, use the absolute value tool. And y'all, another thing, when you plot absolute value, 0, -3 has to be the first point we plot. So first point we plot. Because what MATLAB does is it'll put this bottom point in first, which is the 0, -3. Then it don't matter which other points you use. When you plot that second point, it'll draw the V and finish out the graph for you. But this has to be the first point we plot is that bottom point.
Mr. Redfern,
Uh-huh.
I had a problem where I had to find the equations, like the numbers was given, I had to finish it off, and then I had to plot it like all the pairs and it wouldn't let me plot more than 2.
No, so when you're doing a straight line, it's only going to let you have 2 points. Although they're making you do 3 or 4 points, those other points will be on that line, but it's only going to let you use 2 of them, okay? So you can
Okay.
pick, so you can pick any 2 of them you want. Like this one here, it's got 2 points, but this 0, -3, the center point has to be the first one. Then it don't matter which one of these other 4 points I use from a second one, okay?
Oh, okay. I guess I got the numbers. Me-
So although you got 5 points, this tool is only going to let me use 2 of them.
Oh, okay. So I have to
Okay.
do the the 0, -3 first.
Yeah, that whatever these center one, even on the parabolas that look like a U, do the
Yes.
center point first, okay?
Okay.
All right, so y'all are going to have to do a little graphing like that, absolute value. Let's see, let me do one more like this, and then I'm going to show y'all the vertical line test. So this one, you would graph. Oh, how about this? F of x equals x squared minus 2x minus 10. So y'all, since this one has that x squared in it, you're going to use the 3-point quadratic tool. Okay, so they gave me 5 numbers again, and we should see some symmetry on this one also. Now, since this has got a quadratic tool, the first point I have to put would be that center point on that chart they're giving me. And then I just go to one side, get 1 point, go to the other side, get a point, and be done. But they're making us do 5 of these. I guess they just want us to get good at being able to plug in numbers in, okay?
Okay.
So here we go. We got x and f of x. So they're going with -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. So I'm pretty sure that whatever this point is with the 1 for the x, that's probably going to be our center point. And then I'll plot 1 point to this side, 1 point to that side, and then that's how you would do your math plan. So y'all notice this, f of -1. You got 2 x's up here. Both of them x's will be replaced with that -1. So you're going to have -1 squared minus 2 times -1 minus 10. So I'm going to square -1 times -1 is a 1. This minus 2 times -1 makes that a +2. And then at the end is your minus 10. But y'all, if you don't like order of operations, y'all got them calculators. Punch that in just like it looks. All right, so let's see. 1 and 2 is 3. 3 minus 10.
-7.
-7. Now, I love zeros. When I got a lot of x's, I love zeros. Because guess what? That's a 0 squared minus a 2 times 0 minus 10. So that's going to give me what?
Zero?
There.
Well, that zero's gone. That zero's gone, but at the end it's still a
-10?
-10. There you go.
Oh,
I'm trying to catch my cats too. Yeah, that's it now. -10. Good job. All right, next is 1. So f of 1 will be 1 squared minus 2 times 1 minus 10. The order of operations, 1 squared is 1. This is like minus 2 times 1 is -2, and then minus my 10. All right, so 1 minus 2 is a -1. -1 minus 10, -11. So starting to get a little symmetry going, it looks like. I should get what, a -10 here and then a -7 here. So let's see if that holds true. So we got an f of 2 coming up. 2 squared minus 2 times 2 minus 10. So is that going to work? Let's see. 2 squared would be 4. Minus 2 times 2 is minus 4. Minus my 10. So yeah, it looks like them 4s cancel, right?
Yes.
All that's going to be left is our -10. And really, once you figure out the symmetry, that thing's probably going to tell you whether you're right each number you put in. So you know if you got this symmetry up here right, then we know the 3's got to be a -7. So 3 squared minus 2 times 3 minus 10. Let's see, 3 times 3 is what, 9? Minus 2 times 3 is 6. Minus 10. All right, so 9 minus 6 is what? 3. So that's a negative, 3. And then 3 minus 10 would give me my, there you go. So on that, and make sure that's the first point to plot. And then do one from each side, okay? So you got to plot this point, get one on that side, get one on this side. When you draw that third point, it's going to make that nice U-shaped parabola for you. All right, so the last of this, not too bad. We're going to look at what we call the vertical line test. And this is how I determine if a graph is a function or not. So if you remember earlier, when we first started, my definition for a function was every x could only have one and one only y value. So that's what this vertical line is doing. Because look, if you run a vertical line and it intersects the graph more than one time, then that means it would have 2 different y values, which means it's not a function. So a vertical line test says if a vertical line can intersect a graph more than once, then the graph is not a function. Okay, so I can only intersect that graph once because that means every x would have only one y value. When it hits it twice or more, then that's telling me it is definitely not a function because those x's are having more than one y. So here we go. We're going to determine if a function. Using the, I'm just going to call it the VLT, which is my vertical line test. I'm going to get these on here. So let me get down to that definition. All right, so my first graph, X and Y. So my first graph is going to be like the absolute value graph. Looks like a V. But my question is that a function? Well, y'all watch my vertical line. My vertical line's going left to right. Notice I'm only intersecting it once. I move over, I'm only intersecting it once. Move to the right, I'm only intersecting it once. Move right, I'm only intersecting it once. So no matter where I run my vertical line, it only intersects my graph once, which means
Yes.
Yes, that is definitely a function. How about oh, what about one of these upside down parabolas? What do y'all think about that one?
I think that's a no.
Yeah, that's a function.
Ooh, I got conflicting, so let's see if you run your pen left to right. You're really only hitting that thing one time everywhere, right? So good job. This one is definitely, yes, a function.
Oh, wait. Wow.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yes.
Okay, so let me get, I wish I had something skinnier. I thought I had a little ruler or something. No, I must not have that here. Okay, so if I run my line left to right on this,
No.
vertical line only intersects it once. If I run my vertical line, it only intersects it once. You see how I'm only hitting that graph once with these vertical lines?
Yes.
And no matter where I go on it, now this is just, it's not coming down, it's sort of still sloping. But anywhere you go on that, it's only hitting it once. So let me show y'all, watch this one. Square root function does a graph like that. So remember, here's my X and my Y. So my question would be, is this a function?
No.
No.
No, definitely, because a
Hit
vertical line, it's hitting it up here, it hits it down here. So good job. That is definitely a no. And y'all, that's all we're doing. We're just shooting them vertical lines down it, seeing if they hit more than once. To see this X value, whatever this X value was right here, it's got a choice that's positive. It's got a choice that's negative. So since it's got two choices, that violated our definition earlier, right?
Yes.
So if it's only negative and if it's only positive, then it is a function. But if it's only negative and wait, hold on. I think
I
I
think
said
you're
it.
saying it, but backwards.
Yeah. Like, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Now, remember, those things could be shifted up and stuff, but the main thing is you can't have two different X's or two different Y's for those X's, okay? All right, let me try another one. So something's coming up like this. It's going up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Is that a function?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh hell. I mean, my bad.
Let me see. So I've got a yes on line. Definitely, because look,
Yes.
vertical lines only hit it once, no matter where you go on there.
Oh, okay.
It's only intersecting my line once, right? So that one would be a yes. So like circles,
Not a function.
it's not a function.
Not a
'Cause
function.
right, there you go. So redeeming, right? 'Cause look, if I run that line, I hit it here and here. So in reality, a circle is not what we call a function. So that is definitely a no. Now we'll learn later about what we call restricting the domains and stuff to where we could make that type stuff a function, but for this section, good job. All right, so let me move back up. So a review of the day. Given f of x equals absolute value of x plus 4, find f of a -5. So one of y'all
So-
got to do that one, and then one of y'all got to figure this one out. Over here, I got 17, 21, 14. Our range is going to be 7. And all these are just pointing at that 7. So let me see what's on that chat real quick. Might be an answer.
Is the first one 9?
Well, the first one is definitely 9 because if you put a -5 in there, absolute value of -5 is 5, and 5 plus 4 is definitely 9. So good job. In the second one, was that a function or not?
No.
All the numbers are going to one number, and that's not good. I mean, it's not right.
But let me ask you this. Does each of these domain values only point to one number?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
they don't have, so remember, they don't have a choice if they're only pointing to one number.
So
they
since
can't-
they don't have a choice. It is a function.
So this one is definitely a function.
How?
So the domain can't point to more than one to be. I mean,
So
Yeah.
let me get y'all one more here. So my domain will be 6 and 9. My range over here is going to be 15, 20, and 25. 6 goes to 15. 9 goes to 20. Also, 9 goes to 25.
no.
That's not a function.
That's not, there you go. Because now this X value only went to 1, but this one went to 2 different values. And that's why we said no. So y'all, the moral of this story is focus on the X's and not the Y's. Remember, this is one of your, this is your salary pay here. Different hours, same pay, okay? But this one is not a function because now it's telling me if I work 9 hours, I can either get $20 or $25. So you got a choice. And if that was happening to me, I'd want the 25. My boss would be trying to give me the 20 because he's got a choice. We don't want them to have no choices, right?
Right.
So y'all focus on those X's and see what they're doing. And if they only go to one number, then you definitely got your function, okay?
Yes, sir.
All righty, so that's it for 2.2. So do y'all have any questions on that?
No, sir. Have you already went over 2.1?
2.1, we did that, what was it, Tuesday?
Oh, I had got on there late. I was having problems with the.
So here's the thing. If you was not at the 2.2, the full lecture, I sent a video out Tuesday night recorded of y'all's class.
Oh, okay.
And then tonight, I'll send a video recording of this class later. It usually takes me about an hour or two, but I'll get it there.
Yes, sir.
But that's all for today.
Yeah, does anybody need support lab?
I have a question regarding the book, like that we're supposed to receive or get. Because
Okay, so let me stop this share. Let me go back and I'll show you where the book is, but I'll have to pull up my web real quick. So hang on just a second. And I'll show you there's 2 ways to actually get to that book.
The math book.
I thought we are.
Ain't that what y'all talking about, the math book?
Yes.
Cause if y'all need the math book, I had accessed the math book when I was doing the work. That's how I got the book.
Can you repeat that?
Oh yeah, watch this. I'm gonna share my screen. You get an ebook that's free. If you want a physical book, then you'd have to buy that extra. But y'all should be seeing my Blackboard shell now.
We see it.
You see it.
Okay, so let me move this out of my way real quick here. So I'm gonna show you two places to get that book. Place number one, you come over here to the left side where it says course materials and go to your My Lab student links. My Lab student links, when you click that, the top thing is your assignments. That's where you're going for all assignments. Under that, you'll see a My Lab math grade book. That's the most accurate grade book at all times. This My Grades over here is accurate after the main math lab syncs to it. And right under that, you see My Lab Math Pearson eText. That's your ebook for the class. Now, if you click on that link, it'll take you to a book, and then you can go through the table of contents to get to where you need to go. The way I get to the book, if I'm using it for homework, so let me take you to the homework problem. So I'm going to go to my assignments. All right, so we did 2.2. So say I'm going to go to the homework for 2.2. And see, it told me I had to do the course agreement yet. All right, so I'm going to go into the problem like I'm starting my first problem.
Perfect timing.
Now, let me move this out of my way again. Minimize this. Right here, you see, help me solve this. That's where they help you go through the problem. View an example, shows you a problem, and shows you the steps. But click this, get more help. When you click get more help, it'll give you a video, textbook. When you click textbook right there, it opens the textbook to the section where you actually need to be. And then Ask My Instructor will let you email me. You can add any questions, and I'll see what problem you're working on. It sends me that problem. And then I can email you back and say, hey, you forgot to square this, or you forgot to do that. So while you're in the actual homework problem, you got access to everything, okay? Now let me tell you the difference on this. If you do help me solve this, they'll help you solve this problem, but they're not going to give you credit. They make you do your own. If you do view an example, it'll show you a different problem than you're doing, go through it. And then when you work that one your own, it'll give you credit.
But it also takes away some points.
Well, I would just hit similar exercise at the bottom. So let me show you. So say I did it, and so I know that was
Yes.
but I'm gonna miss it just to show you. Once you do a problem, it says similar question. If you'll click on that, it'll change the problem and let you try again, and then you can say, oh, that was a yes, you know, and get your credit for it, okay? All right, let me see what's on my chat. Yeah, that was it. I see someone already got her on that. That's what I was saying on that one problem when I did it. All those X's are going to be given. So you just find your Y values and then you'll plot in points. So there you go. So JP got her straight on that one. All right, so let me stop that share. All right, so this is the full class. So any questions, y'all?
Can I be done for a second?
What now?
Can I be stupid for a second?
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so I was following all of this and I was doing real good and I was real proud of myself until you got to that last example that you did for the review. How in the hell did you get -1 as the answer for -5 + 4? How is -5 plus 4 equal,
Yeah, I had
oh,
absolute
9.
values on.
9. I mean, you had 9 and I had
Oh, here it is.
-1.
So let me get my camera back on here.
Okay,
Because
sorry. Thanks.
All right, so remember up here, I got absolute value of x plus 4, right? So let's put
Yeah.
that in. We're finding f of -5. So absolute value of -5 plus 4. So work that absolute value first. What is the absolute value of that -5?
+5.
Bam, there you go.
Oh,
So now you
okay.
got.
Okay.
So just remember, anything that comes out of that absolute value, since you're measuring distance from 0, really, -5 and 5 are both 5 units from 0. So they don't care about the sign, they just care about the distance.
Got it.
And then we got our 9 by adding in.
Mind blown. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's all right. That get you fixed for the homework. All right, so let's see. Did Brittany Honeysuckle ever check in? I don't see that one. Adriana Roseby. I don't see that one. Marissa Shelton. I don't see her. And then I got an email from that one. And then I got Peyton Kohler. And I had one more. Let me see. I think that was it, right? Yeah. All right, y'all. If I didn't call your name, let me know real quick. I think I got everybody. All right, so y'all, I will see y'all Tuesday. We'll start 2.3. Try your homework. Remember, everything's due Sunday night, but on homework, I check a box that lets y'all work past the due dates. So try all them problems, and then if we need to fix y'all, my support lab Tuesday night, we'll start getting problems fixed, okay?
Yes, sir.
So no support lab tonight.
No, not unless anybody needed it.
Okay.
I did.
And
Mr.
usually
Murphy.
what I do on that, what I do on support lab, if you're sort of keeping up with your homework, I don't make you go to that. It's just like a little extra tutoring type lab. I got videos in Blackboard on the left side. You'll see a link that says support homework videos. And that's videos where I'm actually going over the problems if you wanted videos on those.
I had some questions about 2.1 homework.
Okay.
I'm struggling. Those graphs, I thought I was good at graphs until
I did too.
So what we'll do, so if you don't need support lab, I will see you Tuesday. If you want to hang on and watch us work a few of these problems, stay on with us, okay? All right, so was it Constance?
I need help on one as well on the graph.
So I'm gonna pull up my math lab and y'all tell me what problem, okay?
Yes, sir.
So let me get out of this one. And everybody's in 2.1 questions, right? Yeah, because your lab will go like a day behind, I guess. So let me. Oh, it's gonna make me do this. Okay, let me get out of this 2.2. All right, all assignment. And this is 2.1 college algebra or support? Okay.
Well, for me, I don't know about.
All right, do you remember what number?
I think mine was the second one. I think it was like 8y plus 4x equals 4.
Oh, because y'all don't like solving these. That's probably the issue on this one. So let me clear this one. So mine's gonna be, so yours is gonna be really similar to this, I'm pretty sure. You have, what was yours, 8y?
Plus 4x, 4. Graph it.
And that equaled 4?
Yes, sir.
And then mine was what, 6y plus 3x equals -3. So let me go play with these real quick. So let me share the camera.
Oh yeah, I tapped that one in wrong a few times before I figured out what it was wanting me to put in there. Because it wasn't taking the answer and I was putting the answer in wrong. Like the answer was right, I was just putting it in wrong, if that makes sense.
Yeah, didn't this one just want me to graph it though? Let me see.
Yes, it's graph the equation by plotting points.
Yeah. Now there were some of these in support we had to solve for the y's. And what was messing up people at school was it already gave them the y equals part and they didn't know that. And they put in y equals whatever they got on the support, and that's was hurting them a little bit. So this one is you, and then this one is mine, because we're going to have to graph mine, okay? So on
Yes.
yours, these will say solve for y. So I need to get the y first, the 8y by itself, and then I'll get the 8y and turn it into a 1y. So the x has got to move to the other side. So anytime you got to move something from one side to the other, you have to add its opposite to both sides. Now the book does everything sort of in a straight line, but I did this because that's a lot of rewriting if you do it like the book. If you do their examples. So we're subtracting 4x from both sides. So this side I'm only left with my 8y. Now here's a question. Can you actually add these together?
Yes.
Well, is those like
No.
terms?
Yes.
Oh, y'all, no, those ain't like terms.
No, one's an X and one's a Y, right?
Yeah, one's an X and this one's just a 4. So remember numbers and X's. So what you do, since they're not like terms, just come down and
Oh,
say
shit, I'm
4
looking for
minus
that.
4x. So they can't add together. So basically all I did,
Was rewrite it.
yeah, this 4x was positive on this side. It became negative on that side. Okay.
Okay.
So if you move something from one side to the other, all we basically did was change its sign. Now you need to turn 8y into 1y. So since the 8's being multiplied by the y, we divide by the 8. You're basically doing counter moves. This was being added, I subtracted from both sides. This is being multiplied by 8, so I'm dividing everybody by 8. So I'll do my 4 divided by 8 minus my 4x divided by 8. So what's 8 divided by 8? That gives me 1y, right? So remember,
Yes.
so it's like there's a 1 there, but I don't have to write it. Now, 4 won't divide by 8 because it's smaller than the 8. So you got to reduce this. So if you don't like reducing fractions, let's go to my calculator and I'll show you what I can do to that. So let me clear. So that was what, 4 over 8. So come in and do 4 divided by 8. When I do that, it'll give me a decimal answer. So watch this. If you hit math and enter 2 times, it'll turn your decimal into a fraction. So that tells me that 4/8 reduced to a 1/2. So you can always reduce this stuff on them calculators. So that gave me 1/2, which means that'll be minus a 1/2 x. So both of them 4/8 for you simplified to a 1/2. At that point, I would go try to graph that, okay?
Yes.
So for mine, let me work mine out and then I'll sort of show you So let me ask you this: do you use the calculator?
Yes, I tried. I don't know.
Mhm.
I guess confused on everything, so I got irritated and just got off
Well,
of it.
don't worry. So let's go to my calculator, and I'm going to show you that problem. Once you solve that for that y, come on your calculator. So let me clear. So I can go on my calculator, hit the top left button, says y equals. I'm
Mhm.
going to click that. Now here's one thing. This plot 1, plot 2, and plot 3, they cannot be highlighted at all. So I'm going to show you what it looks like when those are highlighted, okay? So say I go to my y equals, and that plot 1's highlighted, or plot 2 or plot 3. If any of y'all got that issue, we got to turn those off. Because that's trying to make your calculator plot for stat stuff, and we don't do that. So we would hit second y equals, and I'm going to turn this off by hitting enter. And see how it's on right now? Arrow right, highlight off and hit enter. Now when you go to y equals, none of these plots are highlighted. All
Okay.
right, so now for your equation, I had 1/2. Now what's nice, if you didn't know how to reduce those fractions, you could put 4/8 in here minus 4/8 x, and the calculator would still graph it for you. Because I don't think that when you had to put in the equation, you just had to graph it. So I would do 1 divided by 2 minus 1 divided by 2. And then I use that X up here by the alpha button. So now, let me go see, let me stop and share. I got to let one in real quick, and then I'll come right back to that. Oh, I guess she left. Okay. All right, so you got the equation in there. So now to see the graph, most of the buttons I'm going to hit for graphing are going to be these top 5. I'm just going to hit the button that actually says graph. So that gives me a picture of what that graph is going to look like when I'm done. Now, I don't feel like going and finding points by figuring out X's and Y's. So watch this. If I hit second graph, see it says table above it. So anything up here in blue, you hit the blue button and then that button, and it'll bring you that up here. So since this one said table in blue, I hit the second graph button. Here's me a table. So if I didn't want to plot negative numbers, I can arrow down. So a point I would probably plot would be 1, 0 for one of my 2 points, and then 5, -2, or
So I
3, -1. Avoid those decimals. Okay.
okay.
And then that thing only needs you to plot 2 points. So when you go to Math Lab, now remember, oops, let me go back to my share and go to Math Lab. Let me find it right there. Now remember, my answers won't be right on this because I'm using your problem, but I would probably zoom this thing up a little. And oh, I forgot the numbers. So let me go, let me get 2 numbers off that graph again.
So can I pick 2 numbers? Does it matter or?
No. So if you've got it graphed, it don't matter what 2 numbers you pick out of here.
Okay.
So 1, 0 is one of our numbers. And then I'm going to do 3, -1. I'm just picking whole numbers. If you don't mind doing decimals, you could pick 0.5, which would be a half, any of them, okay?
Okay.
All right, so let's graph that. Let me see what the chat is. All right, now that was a good night, someone said. So, let me get my, it ain't bringing up my other one. Let me try. All right, so y'all see math now. All right, so I clicked it over. So remember, grab the tool down here that looks like a line. So any of these that just have an X and it's not like an X squared or an X cubed, if it's just an X, you're going to use that and see what they call it. It's a 2-point line tool. And I know it only needs 2 points because you see there's only 2 dots on it. So now we had 1 0. So I'm gonna go up here, go right 1 and 0. Now, do you see on the bottom of the graph where it's showing me a 1 0 in parentheses?
Yes.
That's letting me know that I'm at the right point. So I'm going to click that. My second point was 3, -1. So if I start from the middle, go right to 3, and then down to my -1. Now be careful because this thing is separated by halves if you go halfway, okay?
Yes.
And that's for the ones that might have didn't care about the fraction. So then click that for your 3, -1, check answer and be done.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So they're not too bad. You just got to play with MathLab a little bit. And once y'all start getting through some of these homework problems, you'll figure out what tool you're going to be using. Okay. But like I said, if I went to my calculator, if I did that on the calculator and I went back to the graph, well, right there, I can tell I need what, a line tool? Because it makes a straight line down through there, okay? Let me clear this out. Say I had like a X squared graph. So if I had an X squared graph, if you graph them on your calculator, well, you can tell right there, that's the U-shaped graph, right? So if you're having, so if y'all have any confusion on which tool to use in MathLab, graph it on those calculators and see what they look like. Now, if you don't have this calculator, there's probably App Store apps for a TI-84 that you can use from them, okay? The only thing is, if you use your phone, you won't be able to get my programs later. So you definitely want one of these TI-84s before you get to that section. All righty, so any more questions? So the main
Okay.
thing, yeah.
What have y, like just the X to the second power?
Now, what was that question?
Like y equal -X to the second.
Uh-huh.
So would you kind of like the same thing? Well,
yeah. Now, does it just say this was from 2.1 also?
yeah, well, you just graphing this one. I'm having a problem with graphing. Like,
So now remember, let me share the screen because remember on this one here, anytime you're in section 1 and you got an exponent of 2 sitting here on your X, the 3 numbers I wanted y'all to pick were -1, 0, and 1.
okay.
So on those squared ones, pick these numbers, plug them into that, and get your Y values. Now, this is going to make a U-shaped graph with my points on it, and it's going to be symmetric. So whatever you get for -1, you got to get for +1, okay? And then the 0 will be the center point.
Okay.
Now, that negative is always here. So write that negative first, then put parentheses and your -1 and square it. Now, what kills people on this one? They try to multiply that negative times that negative, and you can't start with that because you got exponent first. And the exponent only affects to the -1 you're putting in. So bring this negative down. And then right here, -1 squared would give me a +1. So my final answer is a -1. So let's share that on my calculator and I'll show you how I'd put it in on here.
Okay, so if you got a +1, why did you switch it to a -1?
Well, because this negative on the outside come down.
Okay.
So watch this. I want to put that on my calculator. So remember, I had negative first, so I'm going to use this negative down here. And then I use parentheses and put my -1 in it. Close my parentheses. And watch, it's going to square that, remember? So let me square that. So now I got my negative x squared, but x was the -1 in parentheses. And watch this, when I hit enter, I get -1.
Okay.
Then we had a 0, so negative parentheses for my 0. And then I'm going to square that. And you're right, that's going to give me my 0. And then let's put the 1 in. We got our negative. And then we're going to put our 1 in parentheses.
Be
Square
-1.
that. And you'll see that I get another -1. So now you can see that symmetry. 0 is going to be the middle point. So usually when I plot these, I think in section 1 you can plot them in any order you want to. But once you start hitting like section 2 and beyond, you got to do them bottom points first. But on this one, I think they let you go in any order. Put the 3 points in MATLAB after you choose that little tool with them circles. I mean the 3 points. So every one of these in section 2.1, I want y'all to use those 3 numbers.
-1, 0, and 1.
-1, 0, and 1.
And you said we have to start with the middle number to plot first?
In section 1, it don't make you do that, but you could.
Okay.
It's in section 2 when they start giving you like 5 points for the X's, and you got to get all them Y values. There, they start getting more picky there for future use. But yeah, this first section, you can go in any order, I think, and it'll give you the graphs. So let me see. I'm going to go back to my MATLAB real quick. And I'm going to zip through here to find one like that. So yeah, I want to go. That's like the 3rd or 4th problem, I think. Right there it is. So remember, I'm going to clear this. Oh, we done did this problem. Okay, so let me do a similar question. It should be pretty close. So this was just an x squared, but guess what? I would still use those 3 points. -1, 0, and 1. So if that's a -1, when you square that, -1, -1 gives me 1. So I'm going to go over here, grab that U-shaped tool. So I'm going to go -1, 1, put my first point. If I had a 0, well, 0 squared, it's still going to be what, a big 0? If you put a 1 in there, 1 squared gives me 1. So see, that one wasn't picky. It let me start left and go right and get my points.
Okay, gotcha.
So just save that thing, and then you'll notice the only difference on yours, if it's negative in front of the X, it takes this graph and flips it down this way.
Okay.
So like you remember, you had a -1 here, you had a 0, and then you had a 1 -1 on that side. So same shape, it's just upside down.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Rathfarn, can you graph that one more time? I think I see what I've been doing wrong trying to graph.
So let
now.
me go on that x squared one. So now watch
Yeah.
this. I'm going to hit similar exercise.
Or any of them. I don't think it matters. I think I see what I've been doing.
So it gave
wrong.
me back my x squared again. So usually I click the enlarge the graph here. So it's got an exponent of 2 on it. So that's telling me to use this quadratic 3-point tool. Click that. So my first point was -1, 1. So I came over here, went over to -1 and up 1. Now look in the top right of that screen. You see -1, 1 in parentheses. Well, that tells me I'm where I want for that. So I'm gonna hit enter. My second point when X was 0 was 0 for that answer. And 0, 0 is right there in the center. So now I'm at 0, 0, and it's showing me that in the parentheses on the top right. So hit enter. And then my last point was 1, 1. If I put a 1 in for the X, I get a 1 for my Y. So that was 1, 1. So I went right 1 and up 1. It's showing me 1, 1 in the parentheses up there. So hit enter.
Oh my gosh.
And then you just save it.
I'm not even gonna say what I've been doing. Why?
Oh, that's all right.
Okay. I see.
I tell you what, it's sad when the answer platform is harder than the actual work.
It is.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh man.
Yes.
So what I say is y'all play with those, get your graphing down. Now we won't kill you with graphing the whole year. It just sort of starts out a little heavy on the graphs. But next week, I don't think there's that much graphing at all next week because we do like 2, 3, and 2, 4. So this is pretty much the heavy week on graphing.
Good.
All righty, y'all. So I'm not seeing anything else up here. So practice that. And like I said, next Tuesday, we need more help. We'll get back on there and work y'all some problems and save what problems y'all are having issues with. Or even better yet, next week, I'll show y'all how to pull y'all's screen up so that I can see it. And we can actually get your problems instead of mine and work them. All right, so I'm going to quit this recording. So on this recording tonight, you're going to have y'all's